Welcome to Wine and Real Estate, the podcast where we drink wine, we have fun, and we learn about real estate investing. Real estate investing is so much more than just buying buildings. It's about building relationships, building your dreams, building your dream lifestyle, customizing your life. What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? It's much more than money. It's more than getting rich. It's a different type of wealth. It's the wealth of time, the wealth of freedom. And now let's get to the wine and the real estate. Let's start this episode with some financing tips from our go-to mortgage broker, Streetwise Mortgages. Over to you, Dahlia.
Hi, I'm Dahlia, founder of Streetwise Mortgages. Are you an investor looking to adapt and thrive in this changing real estate market? Myself and my team have created a new resource dedicated to helping you navigate with clarity and confidence. We remove the noise and laser focus on what matters most to investors with respect to rates, values, mortgage qualification, and anything you need to pay attention to. Hear from other veteran investors on how they're navigating and tap into many tools and strategies we've developed for you to help you put things into perspective, better manage your cash flow, hedge, and most importantly, maintain the momentum towards your goals. Visit our new website page at www.streetwisemortgages.com/adapt-thrive. You can also get to that page through the landing page by clicking at the top banner. We are here to help you move forward with clarity and confidence. If you have any pressing questions or need guidance during these changing times, email our team at info@streetwisemortgages.com.
Awesome. So thank you and welcome, Sam. Abdallah from Affluence Real Estate Group. We are happy to have you on with us tonight.
Thank you, Jennifer and Francois. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So maybe tell us a little bit about yourself. What is Affluence Real Estate Group?
Yeah, so our team, we started in the real estate business in 2015. We had a huge passion for helping people with real estate investing. Actually started off taking a flipping formula course, which cost my wife and I quite a bit of money back then.
Oh, no.
I called her and said, "Hey, honey, I just spent $30,000 on training." It's quite funny.
Ouch. Whoa.
Yeah, so just definitely don't say it after. I think we learned from that, though. Anyways, so yeah, I just realized that, I was listening to a lot of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. A lot of people talk about that's being a pinnacle book for them. Anyways, so as we went through the business, I found that there's a lot of realtors that just focus on the transaction, just kind of getting a home sold.
Yeah.
When's your mortgage up? Let's sell you another house. Let's get you a bigger house. So we started really strategically partnering with different mortgage brokers and people on our power team to kind of bring an experience where we can help them leverage their equity. So we created some really cool programs like part of there's it's called One Property Away. So we can give the website as well on it. And really it just teaches people how to leverage their equity that they have to get into real estate investing and how that answers three financial questions. One could be like paying your mortgage down in 10 years or half the time with the same payments. Two, if they have kids, so learning about your clients. And I love that aspect, right? Being able to learn about, what would it look like if you could challenge that traditional way of thinking? And I always think that, I really resonate with books like Steve Jobs and stuff like that, just challenging the way that people normally think about passing down values, that you have to think a certain way about investing, and how real estate can challenge that, when it comes to paying for your kids' school or education, how that return really looks. So it comes a lot easier for me because I really enjoy that. And, we've been able to serve over 230 families as well. And everyday people, right? People who think they're not able to get into real estate, thing, that they have equity in their home. They don't know what to do with it. And right now we're actually just launching a really cool, and I love to create. So I just love creating. And so we're launching a cool series where it's kind of recession proofing yourself, right? So what financial advisors don't tell you. Yeah, exactly, right? So we did a health, wealth, financial freedom thing with a chiropractor, but also a mortgage broker, and he did the presentation on the it's buildmylegacynow.ca if anybody's interested. And you could probably leave it in the notes. But anyways, yeah, so that's a short note of how I got into the business. I just really enjoy the growth part of it, pouring into people, learning about leadership, and then obviously real estate comes from that. And obviously serving more people, you add more value in the marketplace. So yeah, it's a little bit about me.
That's so interesting. So it kind of sounds like your team has certain core values that help you kind of influence the real estate industry. So how did you kind of come about like creating kind of those programs and those groups? I mean,
It's not, it's kind of, it's very different.
It's unique.
Yeah. So, I mean, Affluence Real Estate Group, actually, people think, it just comes from like, having like, $1 million watches and driving Ferraris. It's actually not about that. It's actually about helping people build their legacy, right? Their family legacy, right? So on our affluencergroup.com, it really just talks about building family legacies. So everything we do is based around on that, because everybody would like to build a legacy for their family and for themselves. So all our marketing is kind of, I would say, message, right? Our message is tailored around helping people with that. So some of our core values, which you really feel is important, is a lot of people kind of just absorb their values. And I think until you become in a growth minded space, you do that until you kind of become aware of your thoughts and patterns. And so we started realizing what's really important to us, right? Giving value, providing value in the marketplace, leadership and impact, I'd say just pouring into others, helping people realize their goals and helping them achieve their goals. And third one, I mean, abundance, right? Because abundance can be an abundance of time, freedom,
wine,
things, right? Wine. I love wine. Absolutely love wine. I love wine. I got like water, and I'm like, I got to have some wine. So that's what I'm going to do right after this. And it really makes me, having the ability, right, to have your lovely wine and learn what you enjoy, right? I love learning.
That's it.
Infinite banking and all these things I'm really actually enjoy what you're curious and you're passionate about, follow that, right? So those are some of our core values as far as like, how we operate, and then just who we're looking to bring in our organization kind of fit those values and that lens that we look through to those people. Yeah.
I love it. And it reminds me of a quote I shared a few days ago at the time of this recording anyway. It's something about don't be available, be valuable. Because if you're always available, you're just, anyway, it's about time management and stuff, but be valuable. Like you said, adding value. Mm-hmm. I think it's a huge core thing. And in 2015, I can totally see why that took off. And in 2022, it's extremely important because lots of people are available. It's very cheap, but they're not valuable. So
100%, yeah, they're almost asking, and they're asking for, maybe not asking for something, but they're not leading with value, right? They're not.
Yeah.
We've built certain things, like even little things, like a site with our concierge. All our vendors are on the site. So when people are going through the process of buying and selling, they have we've kind of curated that system and helped refine it over time through different mistakes and things we've learned. So, I'm kind of a geek in that way. A lot of real estate agents, I don't think, really enjoy the systems part of it, but I dive in with my admin, and we love to see how we can make the client experience really mastery level. So, yeah.
That's awesome. It's full service.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, you're always improving and growing. And to answer your question about how we came across that webinar or that seminar, actually, we went to a presentation, and it was interesting because I wasn't going to go that night. It was like, this was five years ago or so. And we were kind of getting our more of identity of who we are in that space and building those relationships. We have a lot of great people in our database and relationships and networks. Anyway, so I remember getting a message, "Are you going tonight?" I said, "Oh my goodness, I almost didn't remember the event." And it was in Burlington, and it was actually hosted by
a bit of a drive.
Sandy McKay's team, and I used to be expansion partner with Sandy McKay. He does the real estate investing thing as well. And he's a good mentor of mine. And so, anyways, I went there, and I went with the lens of actually creating the program, not just going there. I went there to learn. Yet I went through the lens of what can I do to recreate this, right? And it was really cool. And then I do feel like, I would say spiritual, but I definitely think that there's synchronicities.
Yeah.
And so, kind of a good friend, mortgage broker of mine, really started to get good traction. And he said, I got a great, I got the messaging and the plan. He's coached by the same mortgage broker, top 7 or 8 mortgage broker in Butler, of how to do this program. I'd love for you to check it out. And I said, this is fantastic. So we started just following the system, right? Didn't reinvent the wheel. We made those reach outs and just asking people, like, how would you like to learn how to pay your mortgage in 10 years or half the time with the same payments? And it's cool because he kind of has a holistic approach of the budgeting part and the financial piece. And I think there's a lot of realtors that make the mistake of attempting to do everything. Like, I'm going to be the
it can't be
painter,
everything.
stager, I'll install the sign, and I'll be your mortgage. It's like, no, like I
You're
had
not
someone
gonna be
like,
valuable.
I'm not going to mention names, but I had someone literally say, like, by the way, I got my Primerica license, and I'm like, you don't do that.
What don't you do? Surgery?
Yeah, like, like you're gonna just start drilling on my teeth, right? So
yeah, root canal. Why not?
Exactly. That's not how it's gonna go. So, yeah, we just kind of really went through that, and we had a great turnout. It went really well, and it was a moment that I was really a pinnacle of that, passionate about just touching people and helping them through real estate investing, and that they don't have to be. They have limiting beliefs, but we can turn them into unlimiting beliefs really through just the knowledge and the confidence to take action on what they can do with having equity in their home, or learning how to find someone with equity, or people that have great jobs and they're kind of, stuck, or they're not getting a good return. So
that's so interesting. So I'd kind of like to know, Sam, what does it look like? I mean, you're obviously not working with actual real estate investors in these programs. It's more like Mr. and Mrs. everyday people that are
starting out,
kind of starting out.
Curious.
They figure out they have equity in their home, and then they're like, okay, what do I do with it? And then
yeah, yeah, pretty much. I mean, we've had a couple of people that we invited that were either looking to, so they're either in a later stage of life where they're learning how to retire with more, or they're thinking about their future generations. So kind of like, they will say, like, your kids can either be landlords or
tenants,
or renters, right? Yeah, or tenants, right? So it's like, you got to choose. And people resonate with that because they're thinking about their grandkids or their future generations. And I remember listening to or reading something about how a certain percentage, like a big percentage, and a lot of money of the actual down payment has been gifted from the previous generation.
Yeah.
80, 90,000. In Vancouver, it was a lot more. So it really was interesting because it made me realize that that's eventually going to stop. So people need to continue to build real estate, such a big part of that allowed their parents to get that home. And it's like, to your parents, like, what would you do if you bought the house on the same street right next door?
Yeah.
Right? When my parents bought their house in 1972, right?
Oh, my goodness.
38,000. I mean, yeah, it might have seemed like a big challenge, but imagine if got a little bit of extra leverage and understand these concepts that they don't teach in school. And I have giving the right, the information on not just how to become a worker, but how to actually empower these clients and people. So, I think that's a big part of that presentation. And when it comes to your question too, so some people might look to bring someone that is that has equity, that they need the boost of knowledge and confidence to take action. So that would be one person that maybe has done it a couple times. We also work with investors that maybe they already know, like, the one guy's working with a student rental, so we're just running the numbers on that. We have a building for sale, so we work with all different kind of clients. So we just kind of figure out what is their goal. If they do have a lot of equity and they don't know how to tap into it, then we can show them that presentation and then maybe warm them up to that idea.
Very cool. And your area of focus, is it Kitchener-Waterloo, or do you go beyond that? Or
yeah, so we find Kitchener-Waterloo, so Waterloo region encompasses like Cambridge, Guelph, Cambridge, Wellington's Guelph. So we would do work Guelph.
Okay.
There is Brantford, which is about 35 minutes southwest. So we still will do that. Once it starts getting outside of Kitchener-Waterloo in those areas, then we'll refer it. We have some great referral partners. Being able to develop some great relationships through, career visioning, working on the Agent Leadership Council in Keller Williams has allowed me to be part of that. And so having those great relationships, I can say, if you're looking for a team-minded realtor that understands investments or multifamily, go to this person, right? So it's very specific based on what they're looking for, not just, hey, I do it all and I can just, I can drive everywhere to help everybody. So.
No, that's it. You can't be everything to everybody. And that goes back to the earlier conversation about being valuable and not just available. So I'm glad to hear that. Like, you draw the line, this is my area of expertise. And then I refer to others. And we try to do the same as well. Like, there's things we're just not good at, and that's okay. We're not,
okay.
Can't be everything. So
you go deep on one thing. And I had even a friend that he bought, and I'm not going to name his name. He bought with another agent, and it was from Toronto, and the agent just put together the offer, slapped it together. No information about how the appraisal works, understanding a system around that. Because we've been through it so many times, we've created systems around it. We even have a template when a client becomes our client. before they make an offer, everything to understand about appraisal and a video about a pre-approval and everything. So then they make a great decision and know what they're buying. So anyways, he bought the property and the appraisal came in way, way lower because he didn't explain how, when the appraisal could happen, if the appraisal happens right away, then it kind of locks it in for that client, letting the client know what to ask, what kind of lender are they working with. So they ended up having to do like a blanket around their parents' property as well as the new one, or their old one, because they were attempting to sell their property in another city. So just like, putting a client in a good space, because that decision could impact their future investment and what their freedom to be able to do another investment or be able to help their kids. So it's important to work with a local person.
That's a good point. So what's kind of particular about the Kitchener-Waterloo market? Like, how does it differ from like kind of the surrounding markets for people that are thinking about maybe investing there?
Yeah, because we've heard lots, so we're curious.
So the market we're still like about 2 months of inventory. So we're still up about 6.8% in Kitchener.
Okay, so you have quite a bit available. That's good.
Pretty good. We have some student pockets. So like if someone's looking in different areas, we'll kind of coach them on, okay, well, if you're looking for a single family and you're looking for a specific reason, maybe it's not student, then we'll coach someone on, okay, maybe stay away from this kind of thing, or what to expect in a condo. For example, Keats Way is and West Kitchener is more of a pocket of students. We're seeing people starting to convert some of that back to single family, because during COVID, there was the sales of student properties were very tough to sell. We sold a few there, and it was very challenging. Kitchener is also good because we have a technology hub, obviously, with Google and Communitech and OpenText in Waterloo. Insurance companies in North Waterloo as well. So there's a good mix there. People are working from the office from home as well. We have a lot of commuters that are coming from more expensive markets like Toronto, so like migration patterns, seeing how they come from those areas. And so we even show them how to buy something in the west side of Kitchener, which is close to Cambridge, kind of getting to the highway, or even
your commute.
Yeah, so we know kind of, and before I got into the business, I didn't know the neighborhoods like that. I'm like, oh, that's North Galt and this is East Galt and stuff. So that kind of stuff. And, it's very different than a market like, and Windsor probably is a good market. I don't know it well enough, but it's a lot less only manufacturing, right? So there is
more diversified.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of, in Madison, downtown, and in Kitchener, there's a lot of redevelopment of land. So you're seeing lots of old, lawyer buildings, not buildings, but houses, really old houses being torn down, redeveloped, old sushi places being torn down, redeveloped. And they're doing a lot of commercial, like high rise almost, with commercial downstairs. In Lancaster, they did some stuff where they did high rise and then they put commercial down. They actually did a little church down there. I was like, that's pretty cool. So, so that's kind of where the Kitchener-Waterloo market is. Great market to invest in. Our average price is about just around $750, $760 so it's very reasonable with the rates. And with people being concerned about the rates, I always tell them, like, you're concerned about the property when you sell it, the value, right? As long as you didn't way overpay and your agent wasn't informing you properly, and you're just throwing together from an offer from an out-of-town agent. It's good to make a good investment where we look at the three elements of return, right? The pay down, the growth. We take 5% when we average it out, because I think it was a rain stat. It was 5% over 40 years. So over the last, like, how many recessions, 5% is a reasonable number. We don't go like 20% or 30.
It's sustainable, not those crazy.
Yeah, even we did 3 or 4. Like, that's what the presentation's based on, like showing that, mapping that out over 10 years. So showing them that, and then showing them, even if it costs you $200-$300 to keep that property, because you have 20% in the property, you're getting a return on the 100% that the bank's giving you 80% on. So you get a lot more money back, and then you also get the pay down. So showing them the pay down, if it's say 20 to 30%, they put $100,000 in, they're walking away with $130,000, right? So in inflation and 8%, increase and stuff, that's really important right now. So
it really is.
So relevant conversations too.
And the infrastructure is quite good in Kitchener-Waterloo. You've got that highway. We used to live in London. London doesn't have the highway going through the city. I think you also have light rail. I think we saw that last time we were in Waterloo. So lots going for the area, which is good news for the future. I mean, the city's investing, the province as well, widen the 401 there. It's It's very well serviced for future growth. And we were recently in Calgary, and we were noticing, and we're like, this place is built for like 5 million people, and there's like 1.5 million people, while Ontario tends to be underserviced quite often. So I find Kitchener-Waterloo seems to have a good mix of infrastructure and growth potential as well. So something else I'd consider anyway as an investor.
Yeah, I love that. And like they're looking at like they're doing there's a lot of farmlands that are unused land, not farm, but they're just kind of unused land. So they're starting to build some, widen the roads and infrastructure and build more, towns and stuff there. So it's really good to see that there's still housing that are available for people, and there's still a housing shortage too. So that helps with that as well in the demand.
And you're close to Toronto, and you have nicer weather. I know a lot of people say you guys get lots of snow. You don't live in Ottawa. You don't know snow at all.
I know, like the next step, maybe one day Costa Rica. So that's obviously fantastic, but maybe not as comparable. But I mean, Toronto and Kitchener-Waterloo, and I mean, very, very similar, right? So we're very close, which is great. You can kind of go to those areas. You can go to, a lot of different cottage country and stuff. So we're pretty close to all those. Yeah.
That's it.
So I want to kind of go back to the kind of wealth building, Sam, because I know you're working with investors and you're working with people who aren't investors. So you kind of people who aren't investors, they don't want to deal with the tenants and the toilets and all of this. So I mean, is that something that you kind of help them get through, or what do you do to kind of help them
build those systems?
Yeah, there's and in our presentation, I'll definitely send you the link so you have it for your people to check out. It talks a lot about that, right? There's a lot of things that may be limiting people and not having the knowledge to take action. One of those things is, what happens with this, they hear a story from a friend or a barbecue who never invested.
Horror stories.
Uncle Bob's son, Uncle Bob, who cooked some chicken the one day, said that you should never invest because, the one guy he saw on the news, right? So anyways, we totally see that. Sorry, what was your question?
Well, just with the whole like wealth building aspect you're offering. If you're working with people who aren't investors, how do you kind of get over that hurdle of not trying to be a landlord?
Yeah, because that's a big one.
So kind of that's the reason we package that concierge together, right? So having those relationships where even I went through that journey, right? We have a few investment properties and we've helped people do conversions and all types of stuff and air DNA and understanding. We did an Airbnb, we understood that. So it helped us pour knowledge into our clients. So helping them understand that you need a power team. You're not able to do everything on your own. Yeah. And going through that experience of having a great tenant screened the right way, property management that checks their income, their credit, and has great people. Like we have a great family in this place, and they have a Christmas tree up, and they decorate everything like outside, so they treat it like their home, right? And that's the kind of tenants we're looking for. And then there's some clients that they'd like to do it themselves, and it costs them 20x more because they didn't follow that advice of just paying for property management, right? So having the right power team is important. So like our focus is the real estate market and the offers and all that stuff and understanding the kind of holistic approach to what that property is going to do. And then having the mortgage broker that understands, make sure that if you're making an offer, you're taking a calculated risk, especially in a seller's market. You understand what you're offering and the finances behind that and the MLS sent to them ahead of time. And then having the property management for that. So just solving a problem. Like we have a guy in our concierge does smoke removal. So if they're buying a house that needs cigarette smoke and the paint's not going to get rid of it, we could do that. We could recommend a couple quick things that might be able to overcome some objections. I do find that people make decisions based on their value system. So like even if you give them information, they might have safety as a value system. So they'll think through the filter of that, and they won't take action because of the that programming there. So there might be some coaching or just some kind of discussions around here's some things that's helped other people, or here's a client that was in the same boat and look what happened, and help them, create the wealth through investing. It didn't have to be a millionaire investor to start.
No, that's a big mind blocker. A lot of people think you need tons of money, but like you said, if you have access to equity in your house, that's one way. I mean, there's a million other ways. You can do joint venture partners if you have really no money, but you have time. I mean, there's so many options, syndication, the list goes on and on, but I'm glad to hear that from a realtor perspective as well, is you can afford more maybe than you think you can. So I guess you're a Scotiabank client. You're richer than you think, maybe.
Exactly, right? Yeah, you're richer than you think at Mount Forest, right? Which is like 35 minutes, a little bit cheaper there. So there's always something available if you can think about it, right? If there's a reason for you to buy there, you have an intention behind it, like people more working from home, like there is an ability for people to buy in slightly outside markets to still get some good property. And maybe they had an intention of, okay, that maybe I'm going to keep this for my kids, or this is going to be something that I'm going to keep long-term, or maybe it's going to allow me to get a bigger home, or I'm going to finance a renovation, whatever it is. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and they're building blocks. I find each property you add to your portfolio helps you get the next one. We just recently tapped into lines of credit that were built into some of our properties, and we're like, oh, this is good to know. We forgot about that. We had set it up nicely, the STEP program with Scotia, and then we're like, okay, let's call them. We need that money now. So it's good to have all those plans.
This is not sponsored by Scotia.
No,
Bank.
it's not. No. I deal with all banks.
I'm going to email Scotia right now. I'm just joking.
Yeah, no, we deal with RBC, BMO. I mean, they're all very good, but Scotia, for some reason, is very timely today anyway.
So, Sam, are you also an investor yourself? I would imagine so.
Yeah, we have a few investment properties, and I always learn from people who are doing different things. Like Francois, you have a lot of knowledge in JVs. Like I don't do a ton of JVs. I've helped people do like BRRRRs. I understand how to do calculate the BRRRR and how to get in their down payment, things like that. I've helped people do conversions, and I also help people with the real estate aspect part. But it's also good to have these conversations because, having a few investment properties as well, and learning that, like for example, we had a conversation. They said it's okay to restart. Sell a property, it's not performing, go and do a new project, right? So then that's where we came out with, we have a webinar on capital gains tax, right? Because that was a hot topic.
We did one.
We did with Jerry Chan, and it was like, okay, this is a hot topic. People may not get the returns. It might be okay to sell your property and decide what plan that is. And maybe you're looking at vacation properties. Maybe you're happy with, or you feel that could be a good return for you and you're okay with it, So yeah, I mean, it's totally good to start over and also to look at what you have and look at it. Is it going to fit the criteria? And I can move on to something else if not. So
a new topic that's going to be coming up more, I think, is capital loss as well. So we've spoken about capital gains for many, many years, with markets kind of stabilizing or even dipping or different things. There will be some capital losses. And it might sound really drastic. Like Jennifer and I, we just experienced that on a very small property, very small loss. But at first we're like, oh, this is horrible. But then we had capital gains the same year. So we're like, well, this is good. It actually kind of evens out. So again, with proper planning, the proper team, maybe a capital loss once in a while can be not a bad thing. Yeah, we're like, well, maybe it's not so bad. And it's all about mindset again. Like sometimes you do a move and maybe you'll lose some funds here, or like exchange rate. We were talking about Costa Rica, and that's a hard one as well. When you do the exchange rate to US funds, you lose almost 30% right now. But I mean,
it's good now, isn't it?
I'm sorry?
I think we're closer to 25.
It's doing pretty well right now, though, isn't it? Like this is a good time.
Yeah, it's doing well, but I mean, there's still that money that you have to pay, and you have to pay fees and all kinds of stuff. So you lose 25, 30%, whatever, it varies. But then you gain US income afterwards. So it's kind of like that capital loss. Maybe you got rid of a loser, something that was not helping you and hindering you. And this gives you maybe energy to keep going. So I like this type of conversation. And that's part of affluence, I think, as well, is yes, having lots of money, cash flow, but being able to manage losses as well. And yeah, sometimes decisions like knowing when to cut your losses and move on. That's a hard one for investors, because you grow to like your project and you keep trying and So
yeah, and it may not be the right time. Sometimes there's a property that you're like, maybe it's going to be suited for someone else that has a capacity to take that on now. Let me look at something that might fit better. Maybe I know you have something in Costa Rica, right? That's kind of turnkey, which is fantastic, right? So something that we've been considering. And if I was like a single person, I have 3 kids. If I was a single person, I would totally sell a primary home that I live in and buy a couple investments with that and buy a vacation property. Totally would do that.
Yeah, and you could become
I think it's a really good decision, in my opinion, sometimes to have investments and not even like rent your primary home.
Yeah, no, exactly, because you have freedom of total freedom of location, and the laws are to your advantage for the most part in Ontario if you're a tenant. So it's not all bad, really.
Did we just have a real estate agent tell us to rent?
Yes, he told us to rent. But I don't know if you heard.
Buying like 2 or 3 investment properties.
Yeah.
Right? So then you have that leverage piece. So you're always holding on to real estate, just its foundation, I think, for sure.
Yes, I'm just teasing you, Sam.
I know. I was like, oh my goodness.
Sell everything, move. No.
Yeah, don't sell everything.
But maybe be wiser. Instead of having, we know people that are single and have big houses, like 7 bedrooms, 4-car garage, whatever, and they're alone. So maybe sell that off, rent a condo, something nice, and buy properties that are assets and turn things around for you. So
right size the lifestyle. Like we had a client that was like, well, we're looking to buy, maybe we'll rent out our huge house and we'll buy, we'll wait to buy or whatever. And I said, well, what would it look like if you bought something lateral in Kitchener and maybe you bought a smaller investment property with that, right? To get closer to your family. So just solving problems for people, right? Putting those pieces together. And then instead of renting out your big house, which might be less of a return, maybe you rent out a smaller townhome, you start there and you make a lateral move to Kitchener, for example.
There's a bigger market for that too, something more average sized than luxury homes. I mean, there is a market, but it's not for everybody. So
yeah, for sure.
Very cool. So Sam, how can people get a hold of you and learn about Affluence Real Estate Group?
Yeah, so we got 2 resources. So one's our website. It's affluenceregroup.com. As real estate is our affluenceregroup.com. And then we have the webinar, which is a complimentary webinar. It's buildmylegacynow.ca. So buildmylegacynow.ca. And that is really great. It kind of goes over a lot of the foundations, and then they can book a strategy call with our mortgage broker who works in there and get started.
That's awesome.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to share about your wealth of knowledge, your experience. And next time we're in your area, we'll have to catch up in person. We're planning some trips this fall to Southern Ontario, so we'll have to stop by and say hi. And
I'll bring the wine for sure.
Yeah, that's it. Enjoy some wine.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Sam. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey there, listeners. We hope you enjoyed this latest episode of the Wine and Real Estate podcast.
Yes, absolutely. You can find us on Instagram. Our handle is wine_and_real estate. So wine and real estate. On Facebook, FL Homes Corp. And you can also find us on our YouTube channel.
Yes, and please make sure to give us a rating, 5 stars, or any comments. We'd love to hear from you. And we love suggestions as well. Cheers.
Yeah, chin chin.